and welcome to our series, Women in E-Mobility, Accelerating Diverse Women. I'm Dr. Shelley Francis, co-founder and managing partner at EV Noir, whose work centers on shared, connected, electric, and autonomous vehicle technology. We focus on two areas of work, e-mobility best practices and e-mobility diversity, equity, and inclusion. So during this series, We'll talk to engaging diverse women leaders in electric mobility. We'll talk to them about what it's like working in the sector, talk about emerging issues and trends. And today's session is brought to you by Ford. So we're talking with Latasha Smith, Features and Software Integration Manager at Ford. She's working on electric vehicles. Very exciting. She earned a bachelor's degree in manufacturing engineering before completing her MBA and has been on the Ford team for nearly 14 years. Latasha, welcome to Women in E-Mobility. We are glad to have you on the series today.
Hi, Dr. Shelley. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. Thank you. So now it is my understanding that you are a veteran of the automotive industry with over 20 years of experience working on wait, I have to go through the list here.
Okay.
Design and quality, manufacturing, processing, and organization, maintaining supplier and customer relations, functional delivery, and product launches and integration. So that is a real storied and diverse background. Now, before we get into the heart of our conversation, let's chat a little bit more about your journey into the electric mobility space. So, how did your career path evolve, and was this always in the plan?
Actually, no, it was not. And it's funny you use the word veteran because I never think of myself as a veteran. It's kind of funny to hear you say it. But it was not in the plan. My career just evolved through different opportunities, taking the opportunities, taking risks, seeing options open up, and being willing to step forward and say, "Hey, I'll take over and do some of those roles that some people typically don't find favorable, right? Looks like hard work, looks like, it may not be fun." So for me, it was just like, okay, well, I'll do it, I'll try it. And then just being willing to take that risk. And over time, my career path just evolved, right, to the next thing. And it's always been, something that I desired, right? I was very specific about what I wanted to do, but I was also willing to take those opportunities that didn't necessarily line up with what I thought I was going to be doing.
That's interesting. So it seems like you were willing to take on the challenges and so those roles that weren't always the ones that were going to put you in the spotlight or that were the sexy opportunities, but really the ones that could really build your skill set and also it sounds like it was good for kind of networking and just kind of expanding career opportunities.
Exactly. Yep. I had a lot of great experiences just being willing to, be open to some of those opportunities. And similar to the e-mobility space, wasn't something that I said, "Hey, I want to do this." My boss just came to me one day and said, "Hey, we need you to go and work on this." And once again, it's like, oh, okay. Something different. I've never been opposed to a challenge, something new. I knew it would be growth and development because the space is new to a lot of us, but in this context, definitely new to me. But I was just willing to, try it. I was open to the challenge and willing to take on that growth and development opportunity.
I like that approach and that attitude in terms of just being open to trying something new and being willing to step out there. As for me personally, I didn't start my career knowing that I'd have the opportunity to work in e-mobility, but looking back, it really makes perfect sense because considering that I'm working at the intersection between clean transportation and public health, and my background is in public health. I'm a former medical school professor that specializes in environmental public health disparities. So the work that we do is really in line with my interests and my passions.
Yep.
And as I shared earlier, our organization, EV Noir, works at the Center of Transportation and E-Mobility. So we work on connected, electric, shared, and autonomous vehicle technology. And our work focuses on two areas, e-mobility best practices and e-mobility diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so with that being said, we work with cities, we work with partners, OEMs, organizations around the globe, essentially, to help guide their decarbonization efforts. So now I want to talk a little bit more about what it's like for you working in this industry as a diverse woman. So, increasing diversity, obviously, in this sector is critically important. We know from recent studies that women make over 3/4 of the decisions around vehicle purchases, but we only make up about a third of the employees in this sector.
Mhm.
And this finding tracks with recent data that's been released and facilitated by even more that found Black women in particular feel excluded in public facing initiatives, while we are also desiring to see more women in leadership roles working in the field.
Mhm.
So, knowing that, there's a lot of work ahead of us
Mhm.
to really address some of these challenges and issues. But in the
Yeah.
meantime, let's talk for a moment about your experiences as a woman working in this space, and particularly, what does it mean to be a woman of color, African American woman working in the emerging electric vehicle industry?
Oh wow. So I would say it's new, and I'm just going to speak from my personal perspective. Um, I know for a long time I would not have considered um, EV. I mean, we're gasoline vehicles, right? Internal combustion engines. That's what we're used to, right? We That's not new to us. And for a long time, it was not natural for me to think, okay, I'll just pass by a gas station. I don't need gas. I'll just keep driving, right? So that was a bit out of the norm, out of the comfort zone. And so when I got into this role, it required me to think differently, right? Okay, now you have to be open to it. What is this EV all about? What is this space? It's the way of the future, right? And so one thing that I always remember is not just in EV, but even in automotive, um, people of color, women of color, are typically lower numbers. And so to be able to um, get into that space is actually very rewarding. And for me, I take it very seriously because now we're representing. Now I'm able to be a person, a representative to say, hey, for all the people that could have been like me, thinking, oh, no, not ready to, give away the gas pump. Now here's an opportunity for them to see, hey, somebody like me, somebody that I can relate to, is saying, hey, this is an option, this is possible. And so I take that very seriously. It actually is definitely an opportunity for me, and I take pride in it for sure.
Latasha, let's take a little, and thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
In your perspective, and it could be based on things that you've seen or experienced, as well as things that you may have talked to
Mhm.
your colleagues or other women who are working in similar roles.
Mhm.
Based on your experiences, what would you say in terms of what initiatives would help diverse women a more even playing field in the e-mobility sector? Like, are
Okay,
there
so I
things that we
lost you a
could do to
little bit.
help? Oh,
I
okay.
I lost you a
So
little bit.
okay, sure. I'll repeat it. So,
Okay.
just based on your experiences working in the space, we talked to your colleagues and other women who share similar roles
Mhm.
in the e-mobility sector. What initiatives do you think would help diverse women have a more even playing field in the e-mobility sector? So, are there particular initiatives or tactics that could be employed to help accelerate opportunities for diverse women in e-mobility?
That's a great question. I think just getting that exposure, that's probably the biggest thing, right? Figuring out how to get the exposure into the space. And like I said earlier, just seeing it, hearing about it, it was like, oh, okay, that's something new, but it didn't intrigue. It wasn't intriguing to me enough for me to say, I'm going to make the switch. I'm going to, convert over. And so it took that experience for me to get into it and to learn more about it and to see it. And actually for me to be more hands-on with it, to appreciate and understand it's actually not that much different. And actually there are benefits, there are pros to converting. So I think the biggest thing is just getting that exposure and getting people more involved and giving opportunities to see and to touch, feel, experience. I think that's going to be a major shift.
Thank you. And it's interesting. So we say that a lot in the work that we do in terms of engaging more diverse communities, particularly those vulnerable communities that have been disproportionately impacted by overexposure to transportation emissions. So we say they need to touch, see, and experience the technology because nobody is really engaging them in an authentic manner to change that trajectory and that paradigm of what EV adoption looks like for diverse community members and different stakeholders. So I want to, of course, with everything that's happening in the e-mobility space right now, there's a lot of excitement and energy, given what has happened over the last few days in terms of the infrastructure bill. And so one of the things that, I'm sure our audience is curious about is that, just based on everything that's happened with the infrastructure proceedings, obviously this is a opportunity to make a transformational investment in mobility and transportation and infrastructure. And so, based on the current moment that we are in time, how does that investment impact the work that you are ultimately doing around e-mobility and accelerating EV adoption? And what does that mean to you in the work that you're doing?
So I think in general, it just steps our game up, right? It gives us that, okay, now this is serious. Now it's time. Now we have the support. Let's make this happen. And so it's motivating, right? It again, that's a word I keep using. It's definitely motivating because now you have that. You have the support, but you have the backing. I'll say this to let's make this happen. And so it's definitely something that makes me feel like, okay, let's go. Now I'm ready. I'm eager. Let's go. Now we have the support to make this to get this out there, to get the word out there. It's not just for those people that are already familiar. Now let's get it out there. This is the way it's going. This is the new way of the future. Now we have the support. Let's make it happen.
Absolutely. And when you look globally at the markets that have the highest EV penetration, they are doing transformational programming and policy
Mhm.
incentives and rebates to really help accelerate the adoption rate, accelerate the technology so that all communities have access to whether it's charging and rebates and
Yep.
incentives and different vehicle products. That's part of the I think the pathway or the steps that you need to take in order to really create that momentum and energy to really increase market penetration.
Absolutely. It means growth. It means growth and it's coming. So be ready.
Mhm. Absolutely, absolutely. So let's go on and talk a little bit more about going back to like programs and mentorship, particularly for those younger generations, those folks that are in STEM programs in colleges and universities.
Mhm.
Were there individuals who are really inspiring, who paved the way for you? So, like thinking about mentors and mentorship, were there folks who along the way passed on wisdom and or provided opportunities that really made a difference in your success?
Yeah, actually, there were several people, and I will not name names because I don't want to forget anybody. But there were
Keep it
several people.
general.
Yeah, in general, there were several people that I consider my support system. And I'll start, with my mom. Of course, she was from the beginning motivating my mom and dad, right? Definitely motivating and encouraging and supportive of me up to like friends and family, other family members, just having your back and just supporting and encouraging you. And then you people at work, right? You have your advocates that encourage you, and you have people, you have mentors, but you have people that you watch, you keep an eye on, you observe how they do things, and you try to emulate that or to um, take note of that and include that in your development profile and how you want to conduct business. As I've gotten older, I'll say it, and grown in my career, I think I've narrowed down, the number of people that have input, and I have my core clique, my core group of friends. Um, that I can rely on. I have my centered group of people at work, leaders and execs that I rely on to, guide me and coach me. And of course, mom and dad are still there. They're not going
Mhm.
anywhere. So
They're
they're,
still coaching from the sidelines.
right. So I have them, I have my siblings. And so, yeah, I think it was a village. It definitely is a village, right, of people that I can rely on and talk to, and whether it's for advice or perspective or just a listening ear. I have the core group of people that I can rely on, and I'm blessed and fortunate to have that. It definitely has grown, and it's gotten more refined again as I became this veteran, as you call me. But yeah, I think it's relying on those people that have done what you've done, or even those that have not, that have your back and your support and are willing to support. And so I definitely have a core group of people that I rely on.
Thank you for that. I think I will say you're a young veteran.
I'll take that.
Yeah,
Yes,
so you're a young veteran. Yes, having that core support, kind of like your advisory council, the folks
exactly.
that you can confer with, bounce ideas,
Hmm.
talk about professional development opportunities, or help create professional development opportunities. That's really important to have that group kind of cheerleaders to provide that support.
Cheerleaders, that's the word, that's the best way to
Mhm.
say it. And also you have those people that you need that can give you a perspective, right? Because sometimes you're
Right.
thinking one thing and you rely on them to say, hey, wait a minute, now really it wasn't really like that, let's bring it back, right? So you have
Mhm.
that core group. I have my core group.
Right.
We call each other hype squad. So I have that
I like
squad,
that. I
right?
like that.
But I have that, and it's necessary, right? Because sometimes it's your perspective, and a lot of times the the view needs to be a little bit broader, and when you're in it you can't see it, and so you rely on those people that you trust to guide you and to help you, stay on that right path.
That's really helpful. Like I like what you said, when you're in it, you can't see it. So just
Hmm.
being able to have that kind of macro view of the world, work,
Yep.
jobs and relationships really makes a big difference in being able to
Yeah.
see different perspectives.
Yep.
Now, my last question for you is this: so, what advice would you offer young women who are interested in working in the e-mobility sector and clean transportation? So, like, if you had to offer like one piece of advice, what would that be?
Ooh, I would say be open
Mhm.
to opportunity, even if it doesn't look like what you thought it would be. Um, our career paths are not cookie cutter. Honestly, it's not a recipe. You can try to make it one, but it's never going to be the same for any person. So I would say definitely be open to the opportunity, be open to different perspectives. Just bottom line, be open, because there's so much out there that you can't even imagine. And if you're willing to take advantage of it, you never know where you'll end up.
Well, so viewers, be open to possibilities and perspectives. That is
Mhm.
really, really critical. And I love that the last thing or the first thing that you said was just being open to opportunities, even if it doesn't look like how you thought it would look. And I'm loosely
Exactly.
translating what you said, but I think that is extremely insightful. I really appreciate that response, Latasha. And it's really the exact kind of insight that we're hoping to share on this series.
Yeah.
And so, of course, unfortunately, our time has come to an end this
So
evening or
quickly.
this afternoon for some people, depending on where you are in the world. Yes, real
Yeah.
quickly, it's time flies, like they say when you're having fun.
Absolutely.
And it's been wonderful talking with you, and we would love to have you back at a later point in time to hear about what
For
you're
sure.
doing and just where you see some of the emerging priorities are as time goes by. But again, thank you. We really appreciated having your insight and feedback and sharing your thoughts with our viewers today.
Absolutely. And thank you for inviting me, and would love to come back.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Well, again, this was Latasha Smith. She's the Features and Software Integration Manager at Ford. Thanks to our viewers for tuning in, and thank you to Ford for supporting this series. Please check out our other seasons or sessions as well. Additionally, if you want to learn more about the role of women in this sector, along with other emerging issues in the e-mobility sector, ranging from the role of utilities, auto manufacturers, accelerating EV adoption, and more, please join us for the National E-Mobility, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Conference happening on November 17th and 18th. And you can register at www.emobilitydeiconference.com. So, on behalf of EV Noir, this is Dr. Shelley Francis signing off. We'll see you next time, and we look forward to talking with more women in e-mobility. So, take care and stay safe.